It's the Drive with Tim Donnelly here on 99.9 The Fan. Sam Howell in Denver. I mean, I assume somebody else set up his travel. Maybe they needed a GPS. Sam Howell versus Russell Wilson. Sunday, 4:25, Denver, Colorado. Welcome to the big league, Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Now, that's not 100% just about like complimenting the Denver Broncos and saying like, oh, now you're in the big leagues. Part of it is an insult to the Arizona Cardinals, who
there's that.
Washington played in week 1 and squeaked a victory away from just by the hair on Sam's chinny chin. Sam Howell's kind of the first guy to be taking over a franchise and get to play like an FCS opponent in his first game in the NFL. Because Arizona is the equivalent of an FCS. Like they're not trying to win.
They're actively trying to stink.
And
they stink.
Yeah. They traded for their quarterback that's starting now, like 5 days before the season started.
Stupid.
They have the potential to have the number 1 and number 2 overall pick because they own Houston's pick as well in one of the most anticipated draft classes in a very long time. Could be a quarterback plus Marvin Harrison Jr. Could be they could even drum up their draft capital even more if they're able to move somebody like Kyler Murray. So there is something to be said for Sam Howell got a tune-up game. We talked about a get-right game for NC State against VMI. A get-right game at the beginning of the season is a tune-up game. You have nothing to get right from, but if it happens first, you're just looking to tune things up, see if they're working, get a good sweat in, walk away with a win, then have your season start the next year, or the next week, excuse me. So using that logic, the season starts this week for Washington. Season starts this week for Sam Howell. And now they go to face an improved Broncos team. Do I think the Broncos are a Super Bowl contender? No. But in the very first game, you could see the impact of Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Okay. I have the first half stats here for Russell Wilson. Brought him with me here to the Aluminum Company of North Carolina.
There you go.
They lost to the Raiders by a point, but there were signs, right? And this is what I'm talking about when I say Sean Payton had a positive effect. Russell Wilson went 17 of 19 passing for 125 yards with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions for a 129.2 passer rating in the first half.
Not bad.
That is a good start. That is Sean Payton having a positive impact on a player who was not very good a season ago. Second half, the wheels fell off a little bit, which just tells me Sean Payton, I mean, it's Rome wasn't built in a day. He has more work to do with Russell Wilson in the offense, right? Through training camp, they got a good half out of him. We'll see how long it takes to get a full game out of him, but it's better than it was last year. Going against the Broncos at times last year, you were pretty confident, like, hey, we can either win this game or we can just wait around long enough for Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson to lose it. And as long as we're still in the mix, we'll be good to go. I don't see that happening this year, or at least not as often. So Sam Howell, right, last week, they didn't even bury Arizona. They needed to come back late in the game to beat Arizona. Against Denver, I think they're going to, like, now is where it starts. Now you have to play well. If you listen to Eric Bieniemy, if you listen to Ron Rivera, if you listen to really anybody talking about Sam Howell's performance, they didn't laud him for week 1.
No.
Oh, he was great. Oh, he was a leader. Oh, he played like a veteran. There was he played exactly how you'd expect a young quarterback making his first start as quarterback 1, even though he did get a start last year. It wasn't as quarterback 1, right? He looked like how a young quarterback should look in his first time in the spotlight, first time playing getting a meaningful start. That's not necessarily a compliment.
No.
It's like a backhanded compliment. It's like, well, for a young guy, he did okay.
Yeah, it's like he did fine. He didn't hurt us. He did fine.
We won the game.
And we won.
If we lost, we'd be much, much different with our vibes.
He did what we asked him to do. About it.
And he's going to have to do more this week.
Yeah.
He's going to have to, the offense, right, not just Sam Howell, the offense led by Sam Howell is going to have to score some points against a good defense. Right? The Denver defense by no means is the 85 Bears, but they're good.
Mm-hmm.
And if you mix that in with the Washington offense being unproven, this is a way to kind of just generally see what the expectations are for Denver's defense. On Yahoo Fantasy, Denver's the 5th highest expected points from defense.
Okay.
Right? So their defense is expected to, sacks, interceptions, special teams plays, maybe a return for a touchdown, right? Those are the things that are expected from the Denver Broncos defense, which is not a compliment to the Washington offense.
No, it's not. But I think much like we talked about NC State in the last segment about who are you offensively? What's your identity? And I think that's something that Washington is still trying to figure out with Sam Howell, because Sam Howell, like you mentioned, only has 2 career starts. It's just his second year in the NFL. And you have a new offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, where first time he's like really actually running the plays, because Andy Reid was one calling plays and stuff that we saw for the most part in Kansas City when Bieniemy was there. All right, so kind of a new.
Just to jump in, if there was one room I could be a fly in the wall of, I would love to know the breakdown of who's making the decisions in Kansas City.
Well, there's that. Yeah.
I think you're right. Andy Reid's calling the plays. He's designing the offense. He's like the leader.
Yeah.
But I would love to know how much Bieniemy actually contributed. How much Matt Nagy is actually contributing now. Just a pure curiosity. I'd love to be a fly in the wall. Now, that's my sidebar. Now back.
No, it's fine. But it's new roles basically for both of these guys, and they're figuring these things out together. So that's something that we're going to try and figure out. At least hopefully Washington will figure out moving forward is what are they going to be. And also, as there's more tape and game footage of Sam Howell and what his tendencies are as a player, what his strengths, his weaknesses, teams are going to start to exploit that over time. So Sam Howell not only has to improve for himself, but he has to continue to grow and evolve and stay ahead of his mistakes, because eventually teams are going to start to figure you out.
And that is part of it, as far as I didn't think Terry McLaurin was utilized enough in the first week.
Agree.
Brian Robinson got the ball a ton. The offense the offense running game didn't really gash him very often. There are things where the NFL a lot of times is about, it's difficult to completely surprise the other team often, right? If you're playing against Washington, Terry McLaurin's good.
Yeah.
Washington has to get him the ball anyway, right? Nobody's been surprised that Devontae Adams is a good wide receiver for the last 5 years, right? But the Packers and now the Raiders still find a way to get him the ball. Nobody's like, last night, A.J. Brown, they kind of bottled him up, and there was some the Vikings kind of bottled up A.J. Brown. Guess what? Everybody knew A.J. Brown was good, so that's what they focused on. But guess what? On the other side, everybody knows Justin Jefferson is good too, but the Vikings kept scheming him open in a billion different ways, and he got another 150 whatever some odd yards. Like Sam Howell has to understand right now he has the element of surprise a little bit, right? Nobody knows what Sam Howell is going to be in the NFL. But you're going to have to be successful as people learn more and more about your offense, and as people learn more and more about Sam Howell. For example, everybody knows Terry McLaurin is good. Get him the ball anyway.
Yep.
Everybody knows Jahan Dotson is good. Get him the ball anyway. You can't lean on the running game all the time, because sometimes you're just up against a run defense. Those guys get paid a lot of money too. They're professionals too. They're going to bottle you up. It's I don't know. I feel like one of the things in college is if they're double teaming a guy, it's just assumed, all right, go somewhere else. In the NFL, it's like if they're double teaming a guy, but that's the guy you're paying $24 million a year, you still need to make sure you're getting $24 million.
Exactly.
It's not that black and white, that like go, no go, inbounds, out of bounds, obvious in the NFL.